When you think of it as digital gold, then it should replace gold. Gold's worth $10 trillion, and that takes Bitcoin to 500,000. Yeah, well, the way I think about that is I consider the value of all of the property in the world that's used to store wealth. So right now, if you're a wealthy individual and you wanted to give money to your grandchildren, you have a number of choices. You can either buy bars of gold, or you can buy ranches. You could buy blocks of Manhattan or buildings. You can buy shares of companies, corporate stocks. You could put money in a savings account and maybe buy sovereign debt or bonds, corporate bonds or other bonds. And when you add up all this stuff, it's like $500 trillion worth of stuff that people use. And the challenge with all these things is how do I know if I had $1 million today that it would still be worth $1 million 100 years from now?
$1 million in buying power, if you would, yes?
Yeah, money is economic energy. Yes. And so I want to have a certain share of economic energy in the civilization, and I want to maintain it for a long time, for generations. So if I buy a city block in Manhattan, it's kind of intuitive that over 200 years, the value of that city block will go up. And if more people move in Manhattan, it'll go up. And so the positives are people move in the city, and I got a share of the economic activity of the city. The negatives are it's going to get taxed by the mayor of Manhattan. There's going to be zoning regulation by the neighborhood zoning board. It's going to get potentially taxed by the state of New York.
Michael Saylor again has come up in the support of Bitcoin, comparing it with property gold, shares, and stocks. Michael believes Bitcoin is a generational wealth which can be transferred easily to your sons and grandson. Michael also believes in protecting your assets, which can be only done with the help of Bitcoin's decentralization, and you yourself have to fight for it, so get into Bitcoin before it's too late. This is why he believes Bitcoin is once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Now, and if you want to know when Michael thinks is the best time to buy it, then do watch the video until the end and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.
When you think of it as digital gold, then it should replace gold. Gold's worth $10 trillion, and that takes Bitcoin to 500,000. But when you think of it as digital property, like replacing buildings and land and other long storeholds of wealth, then, you're up by a factor of 20 or 30 from there. I mean, it should not be... It's much better than digital gold because I can move Bitcoin at the speed of light, and I can program it to 1 million transactions an hour on an iPhone or a website. You can't do that with gold. So it's got more utility than gold, which means it's probably worth 20 or 30 trillion if it just replaces the gold. But instead of buying the Fontainebleau Hotel, which is a nice hotel, worth whatever billions in Miami Beach, instead of buying the equivalent amount of Bitcoin, if you bought the Bitcoin, you can move that to any city in the world every hour of the day, compose it, decompose it, recompose it, dematerialize it. And, when there's a nasty tax on it, you can just move yourself to a different jurisdiction where there's a better tax treatment. And if you think of it like that, then it's a multi-$100 trillion asset class. So at 10 trillion, it's 500,000. At 100 trillion, it's 5 million. So I think, we're marching toward $10 trillion, which is, $10 million a coin, which is why Bitcoin enthusiasts see it's just a very great long-term store of value, and it's a great investment idea. There's only two circumstances under which people willingly undergo a paradigm shift, and one way is you wait for the old guard to die, and the millennials they get it because they're different, and Einstein, said God does not play dice with the universe. Einstein never liked quantum theory. You could be a brilliant person, but you won't embrace the paradigm shift while you're alive in the absence of a crisis. The second way you get paradigm shift is a war. When there's a war and there are bombs dropping from above, you don't believe in atomic power, but then someone drops a nuclear weapon and the city evaporates, and all of a sudden you become a believer and you reassess your priorities. Warren Buffett never invested in Microsoft. and Warren Buffett never invested in Amazon, right? Even though it's 10 times better, right? If you have enough money and enough power, you can ignore stuff. You know, my dad didn't use any of the new technology until at some point we gave him a television and YouTube, and YouTube did it. Like, he didn't care about all the other things, but if you can sit and you can talk to the remote and you can stream on YouTube to anything, all of a sudden 80-year-old man decides he loves this now. And so it has to just click.
Yeah.
Right.
So what clicked? What clicked for you with Bitcoin? When was it? Was it March of? Was it?
You know, it's the second quarter of 2020.
Okay.
The second quarter of 2020, and what clicked was a couple of things. We had a K-shaped recovery. Main Street was shut down. It's pretty. You know, millions of people have lost their jobs. The economy's contracting, and then Wall Street exploded and recovered and hit all-time highs. And what I saw was
6 weeks later, right?
Yeah, financial assets were having the best year ever. People had great years. I mean, a lot of these hedge fund managers, they had the best year of their life in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
And Main Street assets were having the worst year in 30 years. And I had a company with $500 million in cash that was dead money. It was idle. It was generating 0% interest. The Federal Reserve said, we're not going to raise interest rates for 4 years. The company's stock was in the tank. At one point, in essence, when we were going through this, our company was valued at $60 a share in cash and $60 a share in the software business. And that was like 1 times revenue. And so, you know, I looked at the world and I said, you know, if the cash is dead money, and if our stock is viewed as dead money, we've got a choice between a fast death, a slow death, or we ride out of the castle and we take a risk. Okay, the fast death is I just give the $500 million back to the shareholders in a dividend or a buyback. Now, I knew that wasn't going to save the company because I'd been buying back the stock for the last 5 years. I bought $300 million worth of stock back or something. And the only thing that would happen would be the stock would go from $120 a share to $60 a share. And then all the stock options, the employees would be underwater. Then all the employees would get headhunted away by Amazon and Google and Facebook, you know, and then we wouldn't be able to compete with Microsoft. And, you know, we compete against a company which has more power than God, right? Microsoft, right? Every company on earth is their customer. They're more powerful than all but about a handful of countries on this earth. And they can do whatever they want, wrap it into their product, give it away for free if they want. So the challenge of giving up the capital was first we'd lose our financial capital, and then we'd lose our human capital, and then we'd have no reason to exist, and the company was going to zero. So notwithstanding whether you care whether a company lives or not, I didn't see it in the interest of my shareholders to watch the stock go to $60 a share and then watch us slide. You know, we'd have to sell the company. So the second strategy is hold the cash, but the cash is, you know, cash trash. Ray Dalio says that is generating 0% interest. And the money supply expanded by 20% a year for the past 2 years. You can see it in U.S. single-family homes, which shot up 40% in price. And so if the money's being devalued 20% a year and you're generating 0% interest, you got a negative real yield of minus 20%. And I did the math in my head, and I concluded that pretty much the $500 million in purchasing power would be cut into $250 million of purchasing power in 36 to 48 months.
We heard Michael again predicting Bitcoin to reach the market of $10 trillion, which is quite possible if Bitcoin gets the institutional adoption. But what do you guys think of this? Will it happen or not? And if yes, then when? Let us know in the comment box below. Now, if you found the content helpful, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and do subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.